Hello once again. Welcome to the show. My name's Relevant. This is Do All the Things. Today the thing that I'm doing is once again another pedal build. But this time it's the one. It's the only. It's the world famous Interfax HP-1. And of course I haven't built it yet, so I haven't got anything to show you. Stay tuned. You know, I never heard of the HP-1, the Harmonic Percolator, as it is called, until a buddy of mine asked me if I could build one of them. I'm like, looked at the circuit, found it, and well, that seems simple, I don't see why not. But the thing is, I'm not even exactly sure what it's supposed to sound like. Well, I did watch some videos. This is a pedal made famous by a guy named Steve Albini. Someone else I'd never heard of, but apparently he's pretty famous, especially for his guitar tone. And his guitar tone is strange. It's noises. I listened to one of the albums, I'm kind of like, huh? I don't even get why someone would like that tone personally, but I guess I see the appeal. You know, sometimes when you're a talented musician and you hit the stage and you present a noise in such a way that like, this noise is awesome, look at me rock it, look at me own it, then other people will also decide, hey, that noise is awesome. It's a strange noise, but it's pretty cool. But then as a tech geek tone nerd musician, I can't help but look at that tone and think, wait, how does he make that noise? You could have various amps and guitars available to you in your arsenal and, you know, come close to duplicating Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen or AC/DC. But then you look at Albini's tone and you're like, well, how the heck do we even do that? You go through all your gear, but you can't quite get it. It's like, I came close using a range master with a choked input capacitor and also choking the gain on my amp with a Fender guitar with P90 grade pickups and that came close. Granted, I think one of his secrets is the fact that he uses an aluminum neck guitar, but I digress. The irony is the HP-1 isn't even his sound. He just uses it as an extra every once in a while, apparently, but that still doesn't stop my buddy who's a fan of wanting one. Now, indeed, it is a bit controversial. It's a more expensive pedal, and I understand why. It looks like it would cost me $50 to $60 to get the special transistors. Half because, you know, I'm in Canada and the shipping's gonna kill me, and I don't even have those parts in stock right now. I'm just doing a pre-build here. I'm gonna use transistors I already have. They're gonna be socketed so I can change them out. The other components, not so hard to source out. So let's look at this circuit. This is what I'm working with here. It suggested that Albini's specific pedal might have some mods on it, and I did find a document somewhere online that showed what his differences would be, but I can't find it again. I was diving deep down the Google at that point. This apparently is pretty true to the original, the Giblet schematic. Apparently people have built this one with good results. It seems to be somewhat community source. There's all these individuals, I guess read this over for credits, building various trial circuits and figuring out how to get it to sound that way. And it is very specific as far as the components go. You know, we have a 100K and a 50K potentiometer, no big deal. But a 100 PF, specifically a mica. Okay, so I got this to work with. Then for the 100 NF or a 0.1 U, they're calling for a ceramic disc. Okay, ceramic discs, they work, but they're sensitive to temperature. But sure, okay, I scored a couple of those, they're NOS. This 47U right here, tantalum. Why? But okay. We'll get a tantalum. Right here, the input capacitor, which will make and break a circuit, is a 50 NF or a 0.05 U, or that would also be a 503 if you were looking at a component value. They call that a green cap. Green cap, what's a green cap? That's just a standard bog standard polyester film. So the one I have is not green, but it'll be good. It's also a 473. So it's not a 50 NF, it's a 47 NF. That is one component that is going to be difficult, and if you do, sometimes you're not too happy with the quality of them. D2, D3, 1N60, 1N34, 1N505. Well, I have a pair of 1N34s. They're gonna have pretty aggressive sound. Bam, good to go. The rest of my resistors, I'm not a huge voodoo resistor believer. I'm just gonna be using good old fashioned, same thing I use in everything, 1% quarter watt metal film resistors. I've A-B'd them in certain designs. The difference in tone is margin of error. And fortunately, one of the great things about these is you can get them in all these oddball values. We can get a 750K, we can get a 91K, and even a 20K. That said, here's the layout that I came up with. Bam! So, off the input, we're gonna have a socket so that we can change that input capacitor value. Maybe a 5.6 sounds better than a 4.7. And maybe we find a 50 at some point. Everything else is a bit standard. Right here, we have it say that it could be a 91K or a 20K, so that's okay. I'm gonna use my trickery with a jumper, an adjustable jumper, to switch between a 91K and a 20K, so we can just choose whichever one we like better. Then over here, we have sockets for the diodes, so we can play with that too. It's arranged in such a way that one diode will stretch this way, the second diode will stretch this way. They'll both be pointing in the same directions because the wiring layout inverts the path. And then we'll stick that 4.7K in between them. I've spaced them out by 5 paces in order to accommodate the resistor, knowing that actually that's a good idea because these diodes are longer than normal too. They might not fit comfy in a 4-space. 4 space is minimum what I would do for diodes. And of course, just on a perf board with our P09X25Ns. Yeah. Now you're gonna notice some extra tomfoolery up here. I am trying to make up my mind at the last minute whether I want to include it, because what I thought of doing was doing the typical 100 ohm input resistor, sometimes 47, and then a 47U capacitor filtering the input. Now that's not in the schematic, so maybe I should just omit it. Sometimes that is what you do if you want slightly better noise rejection, if you're using a power supply, like a wall wart. This thing's gonna be battery only, so I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna omit that. However, to get started, I gotta cut up my perf board, right? So let's get on that. I get a 5x7 and split it in 2. You get 12 holes on both sides if you do that, but you'll notice my layout is only 11 holes. So I give myself a little bit of overhead, or should I say underhead, so that, you know, sometimes the way you cut the board doesn't really let you use that last row. Just take the hobby knife and I do one of these. Score it up real good and then just you know, snap. Oh, snap. Yeah, see that 12th row on the other board would be no good. And it's gone. I guess it's kind of pick-like. Might as well be lost in the void. I went back to the standard rotation one, but it has a longer shaft, so I gotta trim that down. Just do one of these scores. All right, we just have to give that a little chopski. We have achieved the normal shaft lengths, I do believe. Let's see. Yeah, close enough. 50K's got a taper on it that gives it an illusion, but no, they're the same. The same enough. The only thing left to do is to convert this to a single gang pot. So more chopski. All right, so on the solder side, mount the pots on the solder side, kind of flex these things into place. Let's tack them in. The side of the board, get those mounts down. All right, where do we start? Probably with the more components I'm gonna need. Time to do some counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just drill little holes with this appropriate size screwdriver. And these Mil-Max transistor sockets will just kind of press fit into place after. Okay, looks funny, but that's it. The question is, when I was plotting out this, did I actually have enough room for this tantalum? Ooh, good thing we gave ourselves some overhead. That's a tight fit. This tantalum essentially bridges these two connections together. What I might opt to do is bring it this way, twist it up around transistor contact, press her down, squeeze her on there, and bring it up to contact this transistor. Give a little snip snip. Oh, that little tanty's in there for shizzle now. It ain't coming out. Okay, let's find a 91 and a 20K. We'll start on this section here. That's gotta be part of the ground bus, eh? Yeah. Well, it gives me ideas on how to do the ground bus. I'll have one go this way to head upwards, and the other go this way to head towards... Oh, it reaches tanty. I use this pin tool to just jam in a hole and give me a pivot point in which to shape a lead. Oh, jumper was right here. Oh, this is gonna be tricky, bud. Pulling the jumper into place while we solder to it. Did I ever figure out the best way to do that? Put my pinky on the other side. Oh boy. Okay, got it. I'm gonna wear out these scissors soon, snipping on leads like this. How's it sitting? It's sitting good. Okay, and the other lead has to come down to the bottom here. Okay, so we start tinkering with one of these ceramics right here. That's gonna slot right, you know, I hope I'm not crowding these transistor sockets. I'm gonna be able to get transistors in there. Should be. So we need this to come down here. And the other half of this is running out to the other trans socket in this general direction there. So we'll get that ready. We have a whole bunch of components going into this little corner here. Or not really, just a whole bunch of connections. So 220, where is that? She's a tiny one. Oh, it's got to slip underneath the ceramic. But it does. Good thing it's so small. So we got to connect the jumper, the capacitor. Okay, I kind of see how I can do it here. We'll get the 220 to come around, wrap around the jumper terminal. We need it to be more straight on though. Put a pin there, pull it taut, get her around. Come on, squeeze it on there. We're gonna put it underneath the capacitor wire. Capacitor wire is gonna come down. Oh boy, it's moving all over. Wrap this lead back around this way, and the capacitor wire is gonna do a hard 90 onto the transistor socket, just like that. And nothing should get in the way of anything else. I kind of enjoy perf barding, the artistry of it, just the creativity of trying to get all this stuff to come together. Okay, so how about this connection here between the 220, the transistor, and this socket here? So we gotta pilot out a spot for the socket. It's these 3 holes here, here, and here. And in order to get those sockets to fit, I have to make them larger. Maybe I should invest in bits that give the right size hole. I don't know. These little micro screwdrivers are quite handy. IC socket right there, and they never fit nice. They want to fall out. So that 220 wants to connect to here and then pretty much go directly down to the yeah, if I can hold this in place well enough to maybe put a tack of solder on that center, it stays put, and we can work from there. We need to get this guy just directly to the input. No fanciness about it. So I guess we'll angle it around this hole here. This has to come this little bit of trickiness I had planned. That looks about right there. Oh, no trimming necessary. Just wrap that around a bunch of times, eh? Nice. Let's tack it on there. All right, that connection's made. Now we just have to space out this lead. Yep, that's exactly what we had planned. However, we can kind of do something. Hold this into place there and then tighten that up and make the connections. There we go. We have 1 full transistor connected now. We need to get our 750K ready. That sits right here. That should be pretty quick to hook up, because what's going to happen is the capacitor lead that I have off that ceramic is going to come down like that. It's going to meet up at the 750 right there and then go directly over to the transistor. All right, that path is solid. Let's solder down. Oh, what the heck happened to my tip? I just have to decide how we want to interface that 750. Got some room right next to it. I'm going to do a weave, or you know what? We will snip it right about here. Looks like there's just enough room. Bend it, and I should be able to force it into that same hole that the capacitor's coming through. All right, that'll nicely connect them together. One of the philosophies you want to mind is sometimes you want to make connections like they would be good connections without the solder joints. So, you know, twist, weave leads together. You don't want to depend on your solder to make the connection, the signal connection. That's how you end up with equipment that doesn't quite sound good. So let's get that other 91. Just gonna sit right here, pull the top taut. Now we have to weave the 750 and the 91 together. Oh, we need to make sure this other ceramic's ready. Okay, that is right here. That lead's gonna be an important part of this next puzzle. So kind of got the lead from the capacitor ready near the transistor point. Just have to decide I want to do the rest of this. Bring this down here, wrap around here. And then because there's so much room, get it underneath the capacitor wire. Capacitor lead's in place. Let's pull that back around. And then we can do a bit of a weave. Sometimes I like to terminate these by pushing them down through a nearby hole that isn't part of anyone else's path. That pretty much goes doubly for both sides here. So I'm gonna take this resistor lead, put it down through this hole here, grab it from the other side and pull it taut. Like sewing. That should be good. How's it look on this side? Looks good. There's some surplus lead to snip off. What about over here? We have a mica cap to go right here. Wow, it's gonna get real close to this one. Okay, we have a ground weave point. That's cool. That mica, we might be able to use it to make this connection here. So what I like to try to do, I grab the end of the lead, point it straight down, and try to force it through the same hole as the pot lead. Usually there's enough room with this specific perf board type that I use. Not all perf boards would let you do this. Oh, that's the wrong hole, bud. It's supposed to go through the center hole. Good thing I noticed that in time. I'm gonna get the other side of this prepped. I think that will entail taking this ground line here, wrapping it here, and then pulling this taut straight out here. And solder that down. That'll keep the mica into place. Keeps our ground bus moving along. Then we have to manipulate the other side of this mica lead into where I want it to be. So I gotta give it a nice pull from this side, which is tricky. Sometimes you need a bit of leverage. And it wants to pull up the component itself because it's solid. Now we need it to do a little 90 because we want it to hook on the edge of this socket to make that connection while it's passing by. Okay, we've got it in a good place. So, back down the hole, get it attached to the socket and the pot. It'd be nice if I could have wrapped it around that socket. And on this side, trim excess. And we can kind of bend that mica down enough. We should be able to get at our socket. So finishing up the ground bus, going here, entails taking the rest of the mica lead, putting it down through one of the holes, just like that. Pull it the rest of the way through, just like that. And we need to make a kind of a path over on this side of the board. Bring it down into one of these holes. The hole that needs to be grounded, this one right here. Similar technique, I'm gonna grab the end of the lead, jam it through the hole that the pot's in. But we don't need a lot of depth. Once we get it through the hole, just gonna push it down so that it clears everything that's going on in here. And solder it to the pot lead. You can do that on both sides. You might not be able to see it. And just secure it through the hole it goes through. That's a good little ground bus. Talking about ground buses, like we've got most of the circuits done. We just gotta mount these sockets now. I'm gonna omit this guy, whatever. It's not in the diagram. We shouldn't need it. So we have a ground line coming this way, just in time to reach Tanty. So I'm just kind of looping back and around here. Pull this guy around. Couple those together like that. I have to get our sockets mounted. All right, along the edge of the board, so that's easy. And one up. Should I drill out the holes? No, they should be a plane up here. All right, pop them poppers in there, 5 spaces apart. And one ground is gonna loop around this inside one and then go to the second one. Tricky, tricky. Now these have to connect together. What are the chances I can just gently nudge these contacts over to kiss each other? Cause like you can't bend these IC socket pins very much before they break. I'll weave. I got a little piece of, ugh. I said I have a little piece right here. Oh, that's gonna be tricky. Oh, come on! I had it, and then it jumped away. I don't understand how stuff gets so jumpy sometimes, even. Alright, so with one finger holding the thing in place, and you gotta get it, like, away from the contacts you're about to solder. Heat goes right through. Okay, they're connected together now. Surely. So I want to shape this next lead. Hit these two contacts. I'm probably going to bend it down and put it through a hole just past them. So that'll be a termination point. Or do you think it can make it all the way to the pot? I don't think it can. I want to go right down into this hole here. There. So I want this lead to move over like that, and it'll tightly leverage against the socket, just like that. Once again, bringing my pinky around, touch of solder. Then let's get this lead shaped. Hold it position here. Oh yeah, that's tight to that socket now. We'll have to bridge that gap after, but we have to get this output lead. Gotta go onto these two, do like a figure 8 weave, bring it back up around, and then we want to do the classic, force the end of this lead through the pothole. It's going pretty easy. Just tighten this up then. There we go. That'll make this connection right here, except it's spaced this way because I need provisions for this to clear. Okay, so we got to kind of, oh, okay, no worries. Just get it back on there. We didn't break the contacts off the socket. It's tricky, man. It's tricky sometimes. You go from not enough torque to too much torque in like seconds. You can kind of actually maybe bring this wire down around the backside. Just get these tightened on there. Okay, that seems better. All right, so looking at this little circuit guy here, we got a little excess to trim off here. Are all my grounds made? Yeah, from C to shining C. My ground bus is in one piece. Oh, it's in one piece, but I knew it. I knew it. My spidey sense said, you're not quite done your grounds, bud. Let's solder these connections. All right, now the grounds are done. I think we're ready for wire. Yeah, full battery power. It's gotten the battery terminal directly soldered onto it. We just have to estimate the length. Battery's gonna be down here. Has to go up here, about this much. Put that through there and get Hugo weaving these together. Direct battery connection, and the other half, well, it goes to yada yada. Ground line, we'll use a green wire this time. That's anywhere on this bottom bus. I seem to have it scheduled to go in over by this connection here. Can I take this lead, fix it down? I kind of would like to see if I can get this to kind of just like that. Just a little bit of a pass-through point right here. Without breaking anything. I heard that snap. Who's getting snappy on me? There we go, that'll be good like that. Messy! White I commonly seem to use as an input wire. Input is right on this potentiometer. And this is where I commonly do also force through the hole. We can do it from this side, usually. Yeah, easy. There it goes, right in there. Just tack it up, buttercup. A little bit of both sides. And then blue is my output. I think you know it. Jam it through that center hole there. Easy. Oh, hold on. I am missing one ground point. Okay, but it's easy, it's easy. Right here, I just have to jumper this guy. Right there on the board. That would have been great. Just need a little piece of scrap lead that came off. Put it through the pothole. Then bend it and put it through to share the hole the other wires in. That often works. I need something smaller than needle nose, but stronger than tweezers. So we'll just take that last little bit of jumper and secure it on. Pot and onto the ground bus. Now we should be done with this little circuit board. Yeah. Aha. Does that look like the diagram? So now on to fabrication, which I'm not gonna film in this case because I've walked you through fabrication in many of my other build videos. Go watch one of those if you want to see how I put the box together. This video is a little bit different in which I walked you through the assembly process so you can see some of the techniques that I use. So yeah, let's move right on to mounting the components and testing this thing out. It is complete, much complete. Here it is, all put together. They requested a purple box, and as consistent with superstition, it is bad luck to put the knobs on before we've tested it, right? But first we have to put in the crystals. The crystals being all the swappable components. So we have to start off by looking at this here layout and picking 20K or 91K. Well, it's supposed to be 20K, so we'll put the jumper in the 20K position first. Why isn't it going on? Oh, it's just tight. That's good. And then a 473 capacitor. We're gonna have to chop the leads down on it first though. And that should slot right in here. Then we have a couple resistors, or no, a couple diodes and one resistor. The 4.7K. Bend it up to prep it. Give it a little choppy. That's gonna be a bit of a tight fit. Trying to get my fingers in there, oh boy. Okay, now we have to prep a couple diodes. 1N34s. And they don't really tell you what direction. They failed to put the band on them. Ugh, one of these days I'll remember. Compared to this other germanium diode. Okay, yeah, it's the dippy part. We'll mark it up here. My guess would have been that dip. I'm not sure if you can see the shape here, but one side looks a little bit different. Normally it wouldn't matter as long as you put them opposing, but this is a bit specific. And this we gotta put them both pointing face up in order to hit the mark. That's some form of asymmetrical clipping right there. That's good because it looks like my lead length was a bit asymmetrical too. And finally the transistors. Now, like I mentioned, I don't have the right transistors in stock, so I gotta dip into my little stash of germaniums here. 1307 might work. A 158. That's classic. Can't go wrong with a 158. TR-84 could work. I'm gonna go with the 158 because that's a pretty quintessential germanium value. Now I just have to remember which socket's which. So the top one here, Q2. No, that's NPN. Q1 is PNP. That's connected to the main input. So that's gonna be this one here. Then, for the PNP, it's a PNP silicon. We have an I'm getting confused. It's a PNP germanium, NPN silicon. A plain one won't do. So I'm gonna use one of these. These are some strange Russian transistors I ordered. KT3102ZH. They're supposed to be equivalent to the BC239, which was used in the Big Muff. That's why I bought them when I was planning on cloning a Big Muff, but I ended up going the op-amp direction instead. Well, it's gonna be a bit tall. We're gonna have to chop it down. And then rightly, you should be going through all the ones that I have in stock to figure out which one's gonna sound the best, right? Because that's just the way it rolls in this world. The pedal world, that is. Culling. We'll just jam any old which one in there first. Okay, loaded, ready to fire. Now we'll load in classic carbon zinc battery. Should have at least 9 volts on it, or 8-point high. I keep that battery in place. Andy boy's got my back. So here we go. Sight unheard. I just happen to have a Bugera Tri-Rec sitting here. I guess I'll put it to clean. Sight unheard, did I say? Sound unheard, I mean. A harmonic stimulator with not the correct transistors. I'm gonna have to order and reconvene this video in about a month. All right. Clean tone. I think it works. Well, to go with that goofy sound, I have these goofy knobs. Knobs that I bought that the screw does not line up with the pointer, so they're gonna aim very strangely. So that's max, and low is like over there. Right, so no offense to the Tri-Rec. In order to do this, I need an amp I'm more familiar with the sound of. So I got the old 800 sitting back up over here. What happens if I plug into the dirty channel, bud? That's a question. I thought you were supposed to be a harmonic percolator. Oh, there it is. actually a fun little sound. The Marshall takes pedals well, and you just plug them in there. So let's pull the 158 out, put in the 1307, see what that sounds differently. Oh, we got a bit more wool. It sounds ripping. That's what it sounds like ripping. Okay, what's the clean channel like? Oh, okay, interesting. Let's try one more. There we go. The TR-84 is my favorite transistor so far in the Rangemaster, because of course I don't have an OC44 to my name. All right, back to the dirt chattel bud. I gotta put the gold fashion 158 back into place. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this jumper and I'm gonna switch to the 91K bias mode. Yeah, we're in the 91K bias mode now. You know, it's reasonably quiet. I'll give them that. Go back to 20K mode. I think this is one of my favorite fuzz pedals to date, bud. Oh boy. So I haven't not done the most transistorizing. Not for common transistors. So I don't have a lot of common transistors in stock. So about the only other PNP I have in stock is the 2N4401. Very, very bog standard transistor. Very. It's like a 2N222 but with less current handling. Wonder how that's gonna sound in here, if at all. It might not even work that way. Transistor works. Oh, I guess it does. It just sucks. Okay, let's put the Soviet back in. a fun little pedal bud. I think as far as fuzz tones goes, that was nice. I like the crispiness. You know what I mean? Harmonic Percolator. They should call it the Harmonic Toaster, or at least this version of it. It's like, it's taking that fuzz tone that's kind of woolly, kind of mushy, kind of like soft bread, and it's toasting it. It's like, you know, it's like it comes out of the toaster and it's just like slightly a bit more burnt, and then you like, it's like crunchy and it's dry. Not a lot of butter on it. Just I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, that's cool. I kind of think I might want to build one of these for myself if, yeah. You know, I have this DoD 250 I haven't been able to sell yet. Maybe I'll repurpose the box. Or maybe the Black Cat. Maybe I'll scrap that one. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this, stay tuned. I haven't currently got more pedal builds planned. I gotta see about ordering the correct value components for this guy, the correct transistors. Yeah, either way, I'm always up to something, so just make sure you're paying attention, all right? Trust me, it's gonna be good. And now I gotta do something strange with my hand because, well, that'd be the second video I shot today where I didn't know what to do at the end, and I just kind of was like,